Sitting here for the first time with acting BSA CEO Cindy Nkomo, and an honor to have you on camera. Firstly, thanks for joining us on SA Boxing Talk. You're here in Secunda. You're showing your support for the first events in a very long time in Mpumalanga. How's everything going so far here?
Well, first of all, I felt it's very, very important that we actually come to the province and show our support. You're quite right. We haven't had a show in Mpumalanga in a long, long time. May I say that it's a female that is hosting this tournament, so it's even more important that as the office we come out and support. And remember as well, I'm still holding my Director of Operations position, so that is directly involved with the delivery of tournaments. Everything is great. Of course, we just said about the one bout that is not going to be taking place, but I look forward to every other bout that is going to take place in Nomeva, of course, and obviously the Mpumalanga Derby, and the female bout between Simangele Hadebe and Melissa Miller. So it's going to be a great tournament, I have no doubt about it.
And I mean, it was important because you got Mpumalanga fighters that always travel everywhere. I mean, they didn't get the opportunity always. And I noticed that every single guy and girl that was from here got like a big cheer when they got on there because it's like they had home night. Did that make you feel give you like a warm heart?
Most definitely. I think we always need to remember that a home ground kind of cheer and support is always important for any boxer, really. So, and it's always nice to be in your hometown. So that is heartwarming, and I'm sure they're looking forward to make their province proud. I know it's not going to be an easy fight, because the guys that are coming from other provinces are going to want to prove that they are the best. So, but it's all for the good of boxing.
And I want to just switch over to other topics. You've come under a lot of criticism from some people, and you've been praised by some people. How do you deal with the balancing act of basically taking criticism and the praise at the same time?
It comes with the job, but we must also remember that nobody is perfect. It's important that I take constructive criticism, because I can only be a better administrator when things that are not in place are being pointed out. And I want to emphasize on the criticism part. I take it with stride. I've been in boxing now for 4 years, and I've certainly learnt a lot. But as an administrator in different sectors, I've been in the industry for more than 15 years, and I've occupied different positions. And to say that I'm here because it has been easy and because everybody has thought that I'm doing a great job would be a lie. But what I think is important in any person in my position and generally in life is that you've got to understand that you're not a perfect person. And you take everything as it comes and deal with it. Where you can improve, you certainly do. I do appreciate the support of those that think I'm doing very well, but equally those that are very critical, I look into it with positivity. I think for me, I would want not to make it a personal attack, but that seeks to improve the sport of boxing, and I would hope that anybody that is a lover of boxing would also channel it that way, because remember, as administrators, we're not going to be in the seat forever, but the people that love boxing are going to be here longer than probably us. And therefore, I wish we could just channel our energy into ensuring that the time that we're in office, we are held accountable for what we are employed to do, and we're measured on whether we are delivering on those mandates or not.
Well, I mean, you mentioned all the things, and one thing is you are an acting CEO.
Yes.
I mean, are you avidly vying to become permanently placed as the CEO of Boxing South Africa?
Not at all. That's actually very far from what I'm thinking. And I'll tell you the reason being that I think as a country we are very, very obsessed about position, and I say this quite often. It doesn't matter which position that you occupy, you have an obligation to deliver on certain things. And I think in sport, especially now with boxing, there's a whole lot of things that still need to be done in the development of the sport. So whether I'm sitting at the COO position or the acting CEO, I think we owe it to the people to just do right by the sport. Remember that the rules and the regulations and the Act do not prescribe that the boxing development is going to be delivered by the acting CEO or the COO. And certainly licenses don't really care whether you're a CEO or not. They care about whether there is activity and good governance of Boxing South Africa. So for me, it's really, and I'm not being modest about that, I think service delivery is what we should be looking into as a country first, but also in the sport of boxing. And that's why you'll find me always getting into various kind of activities on the ground, because I think really the service delivery part is what we should be measured about in our performance thereof, and not the positions that we hold.
Well, we're talking about performance measurements. I mean, during the pandemic, I mean, this is a very difficult time to being appointed into a role like what you have you been how have you been dealing with it? Because a lot of people would have been, lack of action. A lot of people would have been like making a lot of noise about certain things. Has it been tough to deal with all of that, particularly during these times?
It has been tough because you're dealing with mostly frustrated boxers who really can't get as much action as they would. You remember that on a quarterly basis we would deliver between 15 and 20 tournaments. Last year, between October and December, we only delivered 8 tournaments. But equally, the frustration on promoters, the cost of delivering a tournament is really, really high. And it's made worse now with the demand for the bio bubble, for the testing of boxers. So it has really been tough in delivering tournaments outside of the norm. The lack of spectators is another angle, because we also don't have broadcasting houses that we are contracted to, or most promoters are actually contracted to. So you find that there has been a need for thinking outside of the box and looking into other initiatives in terms of bringing boxing to the people. So everybody is sort of in a new normal where we just trying to cope. And it's even worse when our boxers start testing positive very close to the tournament. But I think I must say that I think our promoters have handled the situations very, very well. We've had great tournaments, and certainly looking forward to many, many more. Just in KZN, almost a tournament each and every weekend. So it shows the resilience that we have in the people that are in the sport of boxing.
A question I actually posed to Chilofelo Jaka before, just a couple, I'm thinking literally a month before he stepped down, was about the boxing awards, and I don't know if you're in a position to maybe clarify, what's going to be happening with those, and because obviously there's been a big postponement during the pandemic, but if there was any, messages that weren't sent or so forth that to actually get it together.
Yeah, so we did communicate the cancellation of last year's awards. By all look of all, in all angles, we are not going to have awards again this year, and purely because there has not been any event, and it would be a bit unfair to hold awards for just a number of people, because it would obviously just discriminate those who are unable for whatever reasons to participate. But we're certainly hoping that 2022 will have a plan in terms of how do we deliver the Boxing Awards. It is a program that definitely will continue, but I think just like any other sporting code, there's been certain programs that they've had to can and put aside. But I hope that this is a time that our licenses are going to actually use just to get themselves back into the game, and promoters obviously come up with a different plan, and we'll certainly at the right time bring back the Boxing Awards.
And also at one stage, mentioning licensees and so forth, there were a whole bunch of people not renewing their licenses within a certain period, or some payments were not made. Just clarification on that, because I saw on social media some people weren't able to get their licenses. Why was that the case?
I guess it's also just the consequences of COVID-19 and uncertainty. But in terms of the system, BSA systems, they are there, very clear. I think we are on the 3rd year now of the licensing process being outlined exactly in terms of timelines, where to go to. But now last year we introduced an online licensing system. And the reason for this is because most of our licensees reached out and said, you know, BSA is a bit behind. We need to be moving towards, you know, digitalizing our own platforms. So we've introduced an online system for convenience, and also just to take away all the noise that you keep hearing, not being able to pay, not being able to reach a provincial manager. So with the online system, you know, you license at your own time, at your own convenience, and immediately you receive confirmation that BSA has received your license application. What I would like to ask our licensees is just to read the information that's made available. The quite interesting part is that recently we've been accused of too much communication. I take that as a good thing, because previously we were actually asked to communicate. Now I'm happy that there is communication, and unfortunately some feel that it is a lot, but it's better to have a lot than not to have any. So information is there. We've updated our website. So our website, we've created it in such a way that it must be your first stop to looking for any information. You know, if you wake up at 2 o'clock and you want to find the website is there. And I think the availability of the online system is going to sort out a whole lot of things. I'm not ignorant to the fact that we have to be patient with our licensees who will be finding this new, and we certainly have assistance and will be definitely available to assist at all times.
Another thing I've always wanted to know is, like, you know, your rating system. So how often you update it on the website. Sometimes you'll get like an email, but the website will perhaps not have the latest ratings on it. Is that something that might change?
Well, most definitely. You know, the one thing that people don't realize is just how far we've come as Boxing South Africa. You will definitely not find in any organization where a chief operations officer is actually running a social media page for a company. And that's what we do, because we want to make sure that our licensees are not frustrated by our own inefficiencies in terms of personnel. We are going to be getting a marketing and communication person who will actually be managing the BSA website, who will also be managing our social media pages and managing communications in its entirety. We are aware of the delays. Our commitment is that ratings will always be on the website before the 10th of every month. Yes, there are instances where we're not able to do that because there is no person really that is manning that. But in this new financial year, which begins the 1st of April, we are definitely going to be employing somebody that's going to be looking after that. I'm just encouraged by the fact that you're not saying that the ratings are not produced every month, because we come from that era as well, where ratings were inconsistent. Nobody actually understood how the ratings would come about. There were so many questions, and certainly we can deal with the issues of them being available on the website or not.
I'm not going to ask you questions that you're going to change laws, because that's not what we're here for. Because I mean, there is one question that I would like to ask. I don't know if you want to answer, but like the 3-fight rule.
We can go there.
Okay, can we go there?
Yeah.
The 3-fight rule. I mean, is that something that you guys would like to use going forward? Because I see that like the light heavyweight division, for example, has got like 3 people in the rating, or maybe like 4 people. In a division like that, I mean, could there maybe be like a like you can't actually fight 3 fights in a division like that? Would you consider like maybe scrapping it for certain situations or entirely?
I'd like to actually just talk a little bit about BSA's position on the 3-fight rule. We must understand that we've got a regulatory framework that we need to follow, that ensures consistency, fairness, and good governance. So we may not like a rule, but just not liking a rule doesn't make it a rule that we can't follow. What does BSA think about the 3-fight rule? We certainly think that we are in a time that should not be a rule that we are following. But it is a rule nonetheless. It is law. And if we are going to be an organization that respects law, we've got to respect law in its entirety. What we would want to do is to ensure that we start a process of amending the regulations and then change that. But answering your question directly, we must also understand that the role of the CEO, the COO, and anybody really that is at BSA is not to collapse boxing. We're not measured on how far and how much we frustrate boxing. We're measured on actually promoting activity. So what we then do when it comes to this 3-fight rule, in divisions, and we have communicated this, in divisions where there are fewer boxers, we do have flexibility. And I can name quite a few. With Nicholas Redley, when he became a champion, the opponent did not have the 3 fights. Recently, Reno with Rowan Campbell, Reno did not have the three fights in the same weight division. Warren Jubet against Goteli, that's the same. And we do this concession openly. We normally recommend to the sanctioning committee, and then we put it in writing to say these are the reasons. There is no other opponent. So instead of stifling the division, let's then relax this just for this particular reason. Now let's go to the lighter division. Unfortunately, the lighter divisions, you'll find that there's number 1 to number 10.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the lines, there is somebody that then qualifies. So it would then be unfair to bend that rule when down the ratings, you then find somebody that qualifies. And even that process is well documented, and we then get approval from the sanction. I do not sanction tournaments at all. We have a sanctioning committee that does it. So this doesn't become an acting CEO or a COO role. But just to close on this matter, I do, and I think I share this with the board, that the removal of the 3-fight rule would actually really increase our activity. For the same, for obvious reasons, that when there is no one in that qualifies, what do you then do? But I think it will also just promote, competition between the various weight division. But we've got to be very, very careful in terms of when that rule is then removed, there are rules that are in place so that we don't put the safety of our boxers in place. So it is not that we are happy about it, but we are an administration that must respect law, and but also must be flexible when it is needed. But that flexibility must be that it's transparent and it's fair, and it's the one that maintains the integrity of the office of BSA.
Well, that's actually quite a good clarification. That's kind of what I was asking, because I wanted to know basically that just literally that division, it's on ice at the moment. But lastly from you, are you optimistic for this year? How do you think this year will play out? Is it still going to have a lot of challenges? What do you anticipate?
I think it all depends on, the status of COVID. Nobody knows. There are talks now of the 3rd wave. I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case. Yeah. Because the sooner we get out of, danger, the quicker we are going to have spectators back. And having spectators back has got a huge impact. That's what TV wants. We are talking about revenue generation for our promoters, but we're talking about presence of fans in the ring. You can just imagine Orient Theatre without fans. It's something that you can't even think of. So I am positive in that the activities right now have shown us that our promoters and our boxers really love the sport and they're willing to put it out there. I think also the rollout of the vaccine is going to be the one that determines basically how soon we get back into the ring in the normal. The sooner we cover most numbers in terms of vaccination, the better it will be. And I'm really, really hoping that we're not going to get ourselves into a 3rd wave situation, because then that takes us back. But administration-wise, there's a lot that's coming up. On the 25th to the 27th of March, we are going to be having a board strategic session. We have a new board that just took office in December. They need to get together and outline their 3-year strategy. But what I can just say, we are going to be going back to 2004 all the way to 2013 resolutions, and take notes. What has been done, what was actually taken as resolutions back in those years, and how far are we? Because I think if we start doing that, then we can be able to measure our own performance, but also to implement some of the wishes that our licensees have said back in years. I only found out the other day that I think it was back in 2006 that the minimum 1,000 rands payment purse money per round was made back then, and we were only able to implement that, I think it was somewhere in 2018. So we've got to go back and look at things. Fortunately, we do have already the template, and what we just need to do is just to get together and make plans in terms of the timelines of this implementation. So that's what's exciting coming up. Provincial conventions, they're definitely going to be something that we are going to have, and definitely the national convention. And I can just share the last thing. Our ring officials had their own engagements with myself, and we've come to a certain agreement. So each and every year there will be provincial workshops where we train ring officials in each province, and every second year we are then going to have national ring officials workshop, and we've committed to issuing out uniforms as well, just to bring back that dignity into our ring officials. And we are also going to be very much looking into the national title and how do we restore the pride of the national title. So I'm very confident that it's going to be a busy year, but most definitely one that is going to have a lot of commitment and a lot of work that we need to do.
Well, mentioning the national pride, I see like Sabelo and Gibiana wearing his national title. Rowan Campbell was wearing his national title over the past weekend. So that's a step in the right direction, the pride, because they had other belts as well, but they chose to win the national title first. Anyway, guys at home, that was the thoughts of your acting BSA CEO, Cindy Nkomo. Thank you very much for joining us and obviously giving us your thoughts today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hayden.
Thanks.